What's up, everyone? Welcome to the April 2nd edition of DraftKings Tournament Plays presented by Prize Picks. I'm your host, Adam Scherer. You can follow me on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. And as a reminder, you get one free month of Awesemo plus Platinum when you sign up and make a deposit at Prize Picks. Be sure to use the code Awesemo to receive a 100% first deposit bonus up to $100. Tonight, we only have a 3-game NBA slate, so ownership is going to be more concentrated than usual. That goes without saying when you have fewer options to choose from. But as always, tune in to Live Before Lock in the hour leading up until tip on the Awesemo YouTube channel. We're going to take a look at 5 of the top tournament options on DraftKings using the Boom Bust tool on the Awesemo.com website. Starting at number 5, Mike Conley is projected for about 19% ownership. He has a 23% chance of being in the optimal lineup. Utah has a relatively difficult matchup going up against the Golden State Warriors. But one thing to keep in mind as far as matchups go is that it's all relative to the rest of the slate. With only 3 games, opportunity cost is lower. And then also 2 of the games have, right now at least, identical 218 totals. The other game, Brooklyn Atlanta, has about a 240 total. But the matchup isn't as much of a concern for somebody like Conley when most players on the slate are in similarly difficult matchups. Conley has been playing a couple of extra minutes per game. He averages about a fantasy point per minute, $5,900 price tag, and point guard only on DraftKings. Number 4, Danilo Gallinari is projected for 18% ownership with a 28% chance of being in the optimal lineup. Gallinari is $4,800 and a power forward eligible. He is not on the injury report. He returned to action last game and came off the bench. Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot remained in the starting lineup for Atlanta. But I think this is a really interesting spot to get to Gallinari for a couple of reasons. For one, you could just see him back in the starting lineup, in which case we can expect him to play, 28 to 30 minutes. But also, the last game makes it kind of difficult or extremely difficult to get a good read on what Atlanta's plan was with Gallinari. That was a game where they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers 131 to 107. Gallinari came off the bench, played the end of the first quarter, the final 2 minutes and 15 seconds. And then most of the second quarter, he played the first 8 minutes and 40 seconds. Then in the second half, Gallinari played the final 6 minutes and 40 seconds of the third quarter. He played the first 5.5 minutes of the fourth quarter. And then Luwawu-Cabarrot subbed back in and closed the game. You could look at that and say, okay, well, we're looking at 23, 24 minutes from Gallinari. But the reason I think it's interesting is that none of the starters closed there. Kevin Huerter subbed out the same time that Gallinari did. The closing lineup was Luwawu-Cabarrot, Gorgie Jang, Kevin Knox, Okongwu, and Skylar Mays. So just pure garbage time lineup from Atlanta. If this game had been competitive, I think there's a good chance that you get the final 6 minutes or so going to Gallinari, and he ends up playing 28 to 30 minutes off the bench. That's also appealing because the more minutes he's playing without Trey Young on the floor, the more usage he gets as well. This is also likely to be the highest scoring game on the slate by a pretty wide margin. So whether he's starting or not, I think Gallinari is a good play in tournaments. If he is starting, you can be a little bit more confident in his playing time, but his ownership will also come up. If he's coming off the bench, then his minutes are riskier, but there is the opportunity for increased per minute production and also for him to still get 28 minutes or so at reduced ownership. Number 3, Draymond Green, projected for 24% ownership with a 28% chance of being in the optimal lineup. Green played about 31 minutes in Golden State's last game, so there's no reason to expect him to be limited at this point, and his price tag still doesn't reflect it. Green is only $5,600 on DraftKings. He has power forward and center eligibility. Yes, he has a difficult matchup against Utah, but as I mentioned when I talked about Mike Conley on the other side of this game, that's not a huge concern to me on this particular slate because there's just not that many options to choose from. Green has averaged 1.06 DraftKings points per minute this year and is just pretty clearly underpriced given the uptick in playing time now, as he gets healthier. Number 2, Zach Levine, projected for 29% ownership with a 32% chance of being in the optimal lineup. Levine's price tag is down to $7,400. He is shooting guard and small forward eligible. He has a very difficult matchup against Miami, but the reduced price tag helps to make up for that and the lack of opportunity cost on a 3-game slate where most 4 of the 6 teams have a similar total between 108 and 110 helps to reduce the issue there as well. We know that you're getting a high ceiling from Levine. He's got about a 28% usage rate in the games that he's played with DeRozan and Vucevic. He's likely to give you 35 or 36 minutes, just going a little bit under-owned even at his high ownership. And number 1, Trey Young, projected for 30% ownership with a 34% chance of being in the optimal lineup. Young is facing Brooklyn in what is likely to be the highest scoring game on the slate. He is listed as probable. Atlanta reported him as a game time decision and said he was still dealing with some soreness. So certainly keep an eye on him and make sure he is actually in the starting lineup. But assuming he is, you should get a ton of minutes from Young. And this goes for Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving on the other side of this game as well. Both of these teams need to win. This is a huge game for seeding purposes for the play-in tournament. And so, assuming this game's competitive, you're likely to be getting close to 40 minutes from all of the stars in this game. Young has averaged about 1.5 DraftKings points per minute in the games he's played without John Collins this year. Very, very high upside option tonight, and looks to be going a little bit under owned, even at 30% ownership. So, to recap, the top 5 tournament options on DraftKings: number 5, Mike Conley; number 4, Danilo Gallinari; number 3, Draymond Green; number 2, Zach Levine; and number 1, Trey Young.